Hi, welcome back to the Spirit's Path. This is D, and today's tarot card of the day out of the Wildwood Tarot deck is the Page of Stones and the Lynx. So yesterday we talked about the celebration. You came out of the cave, with the hooded man, and you seen, everybody celebrating, and you took part in that celebration. And, today the Lynx shows up, right alongside, you and the fox and the hooded man. And, he says to you, there's a message here for you. And you're looking down and say, don't bother me. I'm partying right now. I'm celebrating. He goes, that's the part of the message that I want to give to you. Okay. It's that, with all the hard work that you've done, all right, in the careful planning, the careful, aspects that you put into this, all right, it's great that you're celebrating. But, now it's an opportunity to understand, what you can learn over these last 7 to 14 days. And you look down at him, he said, and you say to the Lynx, but let's party, let's celebrate. He goes, I understand that. All right. We can celebrate, all the things that you're going through, right? We can celebrate everything that's moving forward. But at the same time, this is an opportunity to learn. What can you learn through these last 7 days? Well, I learned that I can trust by looking within and seeing the light within me through that hooded man. I can learn to face my fears and not let the guardian stop me on my quest on what's going on. And the Lynx is looking at you going, okay, that's good. What else have you learned? Well, I've learned that, with this 9 of Vessels and generosity, that, I can have a generous spirit. It doesn't necessarily have to be monetary or emotions or passion or anything like that. But, when I look at spirit, I encompass all of that. And he goes, very good. And then he looks over at the fox and he says, what has she learned? And the fox looks at it. She is, you, the spiritual person, are seizing every opportunity that's coming your way. And the Lynx goes, that's a great lesson to learn. And you said to yourself, I transitioned 6 days into this new part of the Wildwood Forest. And I never really thought about learning as I have, on this quest. And we've been learning all year long. Sometimes it's emotions, sometimes it's finances, sometimes it's passion, sometimes it's intellectual, sometimes it's spiritual. And when the Lynx comes out, he's that fierce protector. He's the symbolism that he has is being a fierce protector of the Wildwood Forest, a formidable hunter. Okay, looking for that prey. He's learning every day. While his counterpart, the Knight of Bows, is sly and able to conceal himself within the bushes. This Lynx is up in the trees, on the ground. He's all over the place. All right, and he's bringing that message to you right now of stability, of security. And we talked about that in that four of bows. You can have great, stability within the harvest, no matter what you're harvesting. If you're harvesting food, if you're harvesting, new ideas for work, working on a project, if you're harvesting, you have that emotional fortitude, right? That gives you more stability, more security on your spiritual path. Now, to me, the pages are all about, giving that message. All right. The pages are the ones that run the message between the knights and the kings and queens. So, this Lynx, the Page of Stones being security, stones being, stability, materialism. This page is going to be hardworking. Okay. Just like you are at work, a hardworking individual, very careful in the way you're doing things, but you don't rush into stuff. Okay, this is slow moving energy, as most of the stones cards are, right? If this is a person or if this is you, it's somebody that's going to have common sense. And, as you're at work and in relationships, all right, you take that common sense, which most people have but don't use, and sometimes the other way, which most people don't have, and, you just kind of scratch your head at it. But, the Page of Stones has that common sense. He's able to look at it and say, you know what? It's a great idea to celebrate, but let's stay true to the facts of what's going on your journey. Celebrate those wins, celebrate those milestones, all right? Be dedicated to the cause. But at the same time, you have to learn along the way to get there. Why? One, so you don't make that same mistake in the future. Use that knowledge, use that wisdom, right? And be your authentic self. That's what the Lynx is trying to tell you, and at the same time that you're doing this, that you're learning, enjoy it. Celebrate it. Have fun with it, right? It doesn't have to be a Debbie Downer. It can just be something that's, hey. It could just be something that's, just, hey, let's just enjoy the day. Hey, you did a great job at work today. Thanks a lot. And kind of celebrate that, lift yourself up, bright, straighten your back up and say that, I did something great today, right? If this is an aspect, it's something that you're new at. You're beginning a new project, maybe, you're finishing one off and you're starting something else, right? It's something that's really down to earth because you understand it, right? You're able to take those lessons, you're able to take those skills that you just learned and apply them, okay, to this new project. You know exactly what the steps are because you've followed it before and you've had great success, okay? And, it's kind of busybody work. And if this is an event, it's going to be, apprenticeship, it's going to be study, it's going to be training. Maybe you're going back to school, right? I know a lot of people that, when October comes around, I got to go back to school. I got to work on my degree. I got to learn how to do this. And people get into that habit because you've done it for so many years of going to college, going to elementary school, going to high school, going to middle school, however it is, and then going to college. And now it's like now it's about preparing you to go to work. And when you're at work, it's like, okay, what am I going to learn today? What am I going to study today? Right? What kind of training can I get through corporate training policies? To understand something better. And the question that this Lynx asks is, what can you learn? Well, we've already gone through the week on what you have learned. What can you learn going forward? Where do you need to be more dedicated? And the Fox is still saying, down here, seize the opportunity. Where are you seizing that opportunity? Maybe there's a training thing coming up at work. And, you kind of ask your boss, hey, there's a training event going down, down in the city or something like that I'd like to go to. Well, we really can't afford to, send you down to learn how to, do Excel. But sir, and then you just kind of let them know and just say, look, this was increase the skill set. I can bring this skill back to the office and I can train others in it. It'd be a worthwhile investment, to build myself up as well as, the rest of our colleagues and stuff like that. And he may look at it and say, what, that's a good idea. Yeah, go down to that event. We'll pay for it, whatever, sign up for it. Matter of fact, take Joe and Joe with you. That way we've got 3 trainers when they come back. And now you're bringing that training back to the office, and you can use that in your home. Just because work paid for it doesn't mean you can't use it outside of work. If it's an Excel spreadsheet learning something, or how to write better, an accounting class, whatever, you can use that to teach financial literacy in your own home. Teach your kids how to balance a checkbook. If they even know what a checkbook is, right? Show them how to do the banking and stuff like that, where you can provide them some more security and stability. So those are just, some of the events and aspects on what this Lynx provides for you. But he's with you here for the next 6 or 7 days. So be prepared to learn some things. You're going to be using that passion you have as well as that intellect. And I got a feeling some stability is going to come along as well. So that's today's card of the day, the Page of Stones and the Lynx. Hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel, share with others, give me a thumbs up. And this is D for a Spirit's Path. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. God bless. Stay safe, everybody.